Professor Alara Voss stood tall before her class at Centauri Academy. The lecture hall was filled with students from across the galaxy. Some had blue skin, others had extra limbs, and a few even floated above their seats, but all watched her with the same interest. "Today we will discuss the Extinction War," Alara said. Her voice was clear and strong. "A conflict that changed the galaxy forever." The room grew quiet. The Extinction War was the most terrible event in known history. It had happened 2,000 years ago, but its effects still shaped their world. Alara tapped her screen and a large map of the galaxy appeared behind her. Several areas were marked with red dots. These were the major civilizations before the war, she explained, pointing to each dot. The Terran Alliance, the Proxima Confederation, the Orion Empire, all gone now. She swiped her hand and the red dots turned black. "No world survived that war," she said. "The fighting was so fierce that entire solar systems were destroyed. Planets were broken apart, suns were made to explode. It was the darkest time our galaxy has ever known." Most students nodded. This was basic history taught to every child. But in the back row, a young woman with pale skin and dark hair frowned slightly. Her name was Mira, and she had joined the class only a month ago. She was quiet and kept to herself, but Alara had noticed her sharp questions during discussions. "Professor," Mira raised her hand. "What about Earth? The home planet of the Terran Alliance?" Alara smiled patiently. "Earth was at the center of the conflict. According to our records, it was the first world to fall. Its destruction started the wider war. But how do we know for sure?" Mira asked. "The records from that time are incomplete." A few students turned to look at her. Questioning established history was not common at the academy. "That's a fair point," Alara said. "Many records were lost. But we have enough evidence from multiple sources to know that Earth and its colonies were completely destroyed. The war left nothing behind." Mira didn't look convinced, but she didn't ask any more questions. The lecture continued, covering the aftermath of the war and how the surviving species had slowly rebuilt civilization from the ashes. When class ended, most students quickly left the hall. But Alara noticed Mira lingering behind. She was holding something unusual, a physical book. Real paper books were extremely rare. Most information was stored digitally. "Professor Voss," Mira approached the lectern. "May I speak with you about something important?" Alara was packing up her teaching materials but nodded. "Of course, Mira, what's on your mind?" Mira placed the book on the lectern. It was old with a worn leather cover. The title had faded, but Alara could make out the words, "The True History of Earth." "Where did you get this?" Alara asked, suddenly interested. Ancient artifacts like this were valuable. "It's been in my family for generations," Mira said. "It tells a different story about Earth and the Extinction War." Alara gently opened the book. The pages were thin and yellowed, covered with printed text and hand-drawn maps. She read a few lines and frowned. "This contradicts everything we know about the war," she said. "It claims Earth survived." "Yes," Mira nodded eagerly. "Not just survived, but won the war. Then they hid themselves from the rest of the galaxy." Alara closed the book and handed it back to Mira. "I appreciate your enthusiasm, Mira, but we must be careful with unofficial sources. Many fake histories were created after the war by people who couldn't accept the truth." "This isn't fake," Mira insisted. "Look at this." She flipped to a page near the back of the book and pointed to a series of numbers. "These are coordinates. Coordinates to Earth." "Earth doesn't exist anymore," Alara said gently. "Those coordinates probably point to empty space or perhaps the debris field where Earth once was. Have you ever checked?" Mira asked. The question caught Alara off guard. "No, I haven't personally verified the coordinates. That area of space is part of the Forbidden Zone. Travel there is restricted due to cosmic instabilities caused by the war. Or maybe it's restricted to keep people away from the truth," Mira suggested. Alara studied the young woman more carefully. There was something unusual about her. Most students accepted historical facts without question, but Mira seemed determined to challenge them. "Where are you from, Mira?" Alara asked. "I don't believe you ever mentioned your homeworld." Mira hesitated before answering. "I was raised on Nexus Station. My parents were traders. Nexus Station was a massive space hub where many species lived and worked together." It would explain Mira's broad knowledge and independent thinking. "Professor," Mira lowered her voice, "what if everything we teach about the Extinction War is wrong? What if Earth is still out there?" Alara should have dismissed the idea immediately. It went against all accepted history. But something about the book and Mira's conviction made her pause. "Let me look at that book more carefully," she said finally. "Not here. Come to my office after your classes tomorrow." Mira's face lit up. "You believe me?" "I believe in examining evidence," Alara said carefully. "Even when it challenges what we think we know." She glanced around the empty lecture hall. "But let's keep this between us for now." That night, Alara couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Mira's book and its wild claims. The idea that Earth still existed somewhere was absurd. And yet, there were gaps in the historical record. Questions that had never been fully answered about how the war ended. The next day, Mira arrived at Alara's office carrying the book wrapped in cloth. She looked nervous but determined. "Before we start," Alara said, "I want to know why this matters so much to you. Why are you so interested in Earth?" Mira took a deep breath. "Because the history we're taught doesn't make sense. How could a war destroy every major civilization, yet leave enough survivors to rebuild? And why is the region where Earth was located still restricted after 2,000 years? Alara had to admit these were good questions. She had sometimes wondered about them herself. "Show me the evidence in your book," she said. For the next 2 hours, they went through the book page by page. It contained detailed accounts of the war from Earth's perspective, descriptions of defensive technology that wasn't in any official record, and maps of hidden routes through dangerous space. The more Alara read, the more unsettled she felt. The book was either an extremely elaborate fake or something that could change their understanding of history. These coordinates, she pointed to the numbers Mira had shown her earlier. "They're at the heart of the Forbidden Zone." "Yes," Mira nodded. "Where Earth is supposed to be." Alara walked to her window and looked out at the academy grounds. Students from 100 worlds walked between the buildings, all learning the same version of history. "Even if I wanted to check these coordinates, I couldn't," she said. "No regular ship is allowed into the Forbidden Zone." Mira stepped closer. "I know someone with a ship. Someone who can get past the patrol vessels." Alara turned to her in surprise. "You're talking about breaking galactic law." "I'm talking about finding the truth," Mira said. "Isn't that what the Academy is supposed to be about? Knowledge, not just accepted facts." The challenge hit Alara hard. She had been teaching the same history for 15 years. What if it was wrong? What if Earth was out there hidden all this time? "This could cost me my position," Alara said. "It could cost us both much more if we're caught entering the Forbidden Zone." "And if we find Earth?" Mira asked quietly. "Wouldn't that be worth the risk?" Alara looked down at the ancient book. On its last page, someone had written a question by hand. "Then what is Earth?" The words seemed to challenge her directly. "I need to think about this," she said finally. "This isn't a decision to make lightly." Mira nodded and carefully wrapped the book again. "I understand. But please don't take too long, Professor. Some opportunities don't come twice." After Mira left, Alara sat at her desk for a long time. Her entire career had been built on teaching the accepted history of the galaxy. Could she risk everything on the slim chance that a mysterious book was right and the official records were wrong? She turned to her computer and quietly began researching the Forbidden Zone. Perhaps there was a way to investigate without breaking too many rules, just enough to prove or disprove the book's claims. What she found surprised her. There were inconsistencies in the patrol schedules, unexplained energy readings, and reports from ships that had accidentally strayed too close to the zone, reporting strange distortions in space. By morning, Alara had made her decision. She would go with Mira to the coordinates. She needed to see for herself what was there, empty space or the impossible, a living Earth. 3 days later, Alara found herself on a small ship called the Seeker. It wasn't much to look at, an old research vessel with patched hull plates and outdated systems. But according to Mira, it had special modifications that would help them enter the Forbidden Zone undetected. The ship's captain was a gruff man named Torin. He had gray hair and a face marked with old scars. With him were 2 crew members, Ven, a tall, thin engineer with 4 arms, and Lissa, a navigator whose skin had a slight blue tint. "This is my research team," Alara had told them, sticking to the cover story she and Mira had agreed upon. "We're studying space anomalies near the edge of the Forbidden Zone." Torin had just grunted. "Your money's good. That's all I care about." But his eyes had lingered on Mira with a look that suggested he knew more than he was saying. Now they were approaching the border of the restricted area. Ilara stood on the bridge watching as the normal stars gave way to strange patterns of light. The Forbidden Zone looked different from regular space. Colors seemed wrong. Stars appeared distorted. "Are you sure about this, Professor?" Lissa asked from her position at the navigation controls. "The zone isn't just restricted because of politics. It's genuinely dangerous." "I'm aware of the risks," Ilara said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "But this could be an important discovery." Mira stood quietly beside her, the ancient book clutched in her hands. She hadn't let it out of her sight since they'd boarded the ship. "Patrol ship detected," Ven announced suddenly. His four hands moved quickly over the sensor controls. "Border security vessel coming around from the Cygnus side." Torin cursed under his breath. Everyone quiet. Engaging stealth systems. The lights on the bridge dimmed. The hum of the engines dropped to a whisper. Ilara felt a strange tingling as the stealth field activated around the ship. "What exactly did you modify on this vessel?" she whispered to Mira. "Light-bending technology," Mira whispered back, "and energy signature masking. They shouldn't be able to detect us." They watched in tense silence as the patrol ship passed by. It was much larger than their vessel, bristling with weapons and scanning equipment. For a moment it seemed to pause as if sensing something. Then it continued on its regular route. Everyone on the bridge released a collective breath. "We're clear," Torin said. "Setting course for your coordinates, Professor. But I'm keeping the stealth system active. The deeper we go, the more patrols we'll encounter." The Seeker moved forward, crossing the invisible line that marked the beginning of the Forbidden Zone. Immediately, Ilara felt a change. The air seemed heavier. The lights flickered slightly. On the screen showing the view outside, the stars looked even stranger, some unnaturally bright, others pulsing with rhythms that didn't seem natural. "The cosmic instabilities," Lissa murmured. "They're real." "Yes, but are they natural?" Mira asked. "Or created to keep people away?" For 2 days they traveled deeper into the zone. The strange effects grew stronger. Communications became unreliable. The ship's systems would randomly reset. Sometimes they would all experience moments of disorientation, where time seemed to slow down or speed up. "We should turn back," Ven suggested after a particularly bad episode left them all with splitting headaches. "Whatever's out here isn't worth this." "We're close," Mira insisted. She pointed to the navigation display. "The coordinates are just ahead." Ilara studied the screen. According to their sensors, they were approaching nothing. Empty space. No planets, no stars, not even a significant asteroid field. "Just a void, there's nothing there," Torin said, stating what they could all see. "Your book was wrong," Mira shook her head. "No, it can't be." She opened the book to the page with the coordinates and checked them again. "We're in the right place." Ilara felt a sinking disappointment. Had she risked her career for nothing? Had the book been a fake after all? But then Lissa called out from her station. "Wait, I'm detecting something strange. The empty space ahead. It's too empty. What do you mean?" Ilara asked. "No cosmic background radiation. No stray particles, nothing. It's like something's blocking our sensors." Torin frowned and adjusted the ship's course slightly. Moving in closer. "Everyone, secure yourselves. This could get rough." As they approached the empty region, the ship began to shake. Warning alarms blared. The screen showed distortions in the space ahead like ripples in water. "We're hitting some kind of barrier," Ven shouted over the noise. "Energy readings are off the charts." "Keep going," Mira urged. "Push through it." Torin looked at her like she was crazy, but after a moment's hesitation, he nodded and increased power to the engines. The ship lurched forward. The shaking grew worse. Ilara gripped her seat as the vessel seemed to be tearing itself apart, and then suddenly, calm. The alarm stopped. The shaking ceased. "The screens cleared. What happened?" Ilara asked, looking around. Lissa was staring at her instruments in disbelief. We passed through something. Some kind of field or barrier. Look." Mira pointed at the main view screen. Where moments before there had been empty space, now there was a star, a yellow star, much like thousands of others in the galaxy. But this one wasn't supposed to be here. "And around it, planets," Ilara whispered. "A whole solar system. 8 major planets," Ven confirmed, reading from his sensors. "And the third one from the star is..." "It's Earth," Mira said softly. "It's Earth." The screen showed a blue and green planet wrapped in white clouds exactly as Earth was described in ancient texts. A world of oceans and continents, of life and beauty. a world that, according to every official history book, had been destroyed 2,000 years ago. This is impossible, Torin muttered. This entire system was hidden behind some kind of cloaking field. The technology required for something that size. It's beyond anything known. Alara could barely process what she was seeing. Earth existed. It was here, hidden but alive. Every lecture she had ever given about the Extinction War had been wrong. "Take us closer," she said. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears. "I need to see it clearly." As they approached the blue planet, more details became visible. They could see the outlines of continents, weather patterns, and even lights on the night side. Clear evidence of civilization. "I'm detecting artificial satellites," Ven reported. "Thousands of them. And ships. Small ones mostly near the planet, but some farther out." "Are they aware of us?" Alara asked. "I would assume so," Torin said grimly. "Anything that can hide an entire solar system probably noticed when we broke through their shield." As if to confirm his words, the sensors beeped urgently. "Multiple vessels approaching," Ven announced. "Coming fast." On the screen, they could see sleek ships racing toward them from the direction of Earth. They were unlike any design Alara had ever seen, smooth and streamlined, with a faint blue glow surrounding them. "They're hailing us," Lissa said. "Put it through," Torin ordered. A voice came through the speakers, speaking in an old language that Alara recognized as ancient Terran. Standard translation software converted it. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Earth-protected space. Maintain your position and prepare to be escorted to Lunar Station. Any attempt to flee or resist will be met with immediate action." The message was polite but left no room for argument. The Earth ships had surrounded them completely. "What do we do?" Lissa asked, looking nervously at the approaching vessels. "We comply," Alara said firmly. "We came to find Earth and we found it. Now let's see what else we can learn." "They might imprison us," Torin warned. "Or worse. There's a reason they've hidden themselves away. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it the moment we crossed their barrier," Mira pointed out. "They're talking to us. That's a good sign." Torin reluctantly agreed to follow the Earthship's instructions. The Seeker was guided away from Earth toward a large gray satellite orbiting the planet. Alara recognized it from historical images, Earth's moon known as Luna. As they approached, they could see an extensive base built into the lunar surface. Domes, towers, and landing pads covered a vast area. Ships of various sizes moved in and out of large hangar bays. "Lunar Station," Mira read from her book. "The gateway to Earth. It says here that all first contacts are processed there." "First contacts?" Alara repeated. "You mean they've allowed others to find them before?" Mira nodded. "According to this, Earth occasionally reveals itself to selected outsiders, usually scientists or historians, or people with ancient books containing their coordinates," Alara said with a slight smile. She was beginning to suspect that their discovery of Earth might not have been an accident. The Seeker was directed to a docking bay inside the lunar base. As they settled onto the landing pad, Alara felt a mixture of excitement and fear. She had found the impossible, a world that history said didn't exist. "What happens now?" Lissa asked as they prepared to disembark. Alara looked at Mira, who smiled mysteriously. "Now," Mira said, "we learn the truth about the Extinction War, and why Earth has been hiding all this time." As the airlock doors opened, Alara took a deep breath. She was about to step into a piece of living history, a world that had supposedly died 2,000 years ago. Whatever she learned here would change everything she thought she knew, and somewhere in the back of her mind she heard the question from Mira's book again. Then what is Earth? She was finally going to get an answer. A group of people in simple gray uniforms waited for them at the airlock. They looked mostly human, though some had subtle differences, slightly larger eyes, unusual skin tones, or extra fingers. Evolution over 2,000 years, Alara guessed. One woman stepped forward. She had dark skin and sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. "I am Commander Lin of Lunar Security," she said. Her voice was clear and her accent strange to Alara's ears. "You will come with us for processing and debriefing." "We come peacefully," Alara assured her. "I am Professor Alara Voss from Centauri Academy. This is my research team." She gestured to the others. Commander Lin's eyes lingered on Mira. Something passed between them, a look of recognition, perhaps. "Follow me," Lin said simply and turned to lead them deeper into the station. They walked through gleaming corridors with curved walls and soft lighting. People moved purposefully around them, some giving curious glances at the visitors. The technology Alara saw was both familiar and strange, recognizable in function but advanced in design. They were taken to a large room with a window overlooking the lunar surface. Earth hung in the black sky, blue and beautiful. The sight of it made Alara's breath catch. A world from legend, alive and real. Please sit. Lynn gestured to a circular table in the center of the room. They sat down feeling uncomfortable and out of place. Even Mira seemed tense now that they were here. The door opened again and a tall man entered. He had gray hair and a lined face that suggested both wisdom and weariness. His uniform was similar to Lynn's but with additional insignia on the shoulders. "I am Director Chen of Earth Contact Division," he said. "Welcome to Lunar Station." He sat down across from them, placing a thin device on the table. It projected a holographic display showing their ship and its journey through the Forbidden Zone. "You penetrated our outer security field," Chen said. "Not an easy feat. You must have had help." All eyes turned to Mira. "The book," Alara said, understanding dawning. "It wasn't just a historical record. It was a guide." Mira nodded slowly. "It was meant to be found by someone who would listen. Someone open-minded enough to question official history. Someone like you, Professor Voss," Chen said with a small smile. "Your reputation reached us. A historian who seeks truth, not just accepted facts." Alara felt a mixture of flattery and manipulation. "You've been watching me? Why?" "Because the time is coming when Earth can no longer remain hidden," Chen said. "And when we reveal ourselves to the galaxy, we will need allies who can help others understand our story." "Your story?" Torrin spoke up, sounding suspicious. "The story of how you faked your own destruction and hid for 2,000 years while the rest of the galaxy thought you were dead." Chen didn't seem offended by the accusation. "Yes, that story. But also why we did it, which is far more important." Lynn touched a control on the table, and a new hologram appeared, a swirling map of the galaxy with certain areas highlighted in red. "What do you know about the Extinction War, Professor?" she asked. Alara straightened, falling into her familiar role as teacher. "It began approximately 2,000 years ago. Multiple civilizations were involved, including the Terran Alliance, Earth and its colonies. The fighting was catastrophic, resulting in the destruction of entire worlds and the collapse of galactic civilization. It took centuries for the survivors to rebuild." Chen nodded. "That is the accepted version. Now let me tell you what really happened." He expanded the galaxy map, zooming in on one section. The war didn't start as a conflict between civilizations. It began as an invasion. A new color, deep purple, spread across part of the map. They came from outside our galaxy. We never learned their true name. They called themselves the Purifiers. "I've never heard of them," Alara said. "Because we erased them from history," Lynn replied. "Along with the truth about Earth," Chen continued. "The Purifiers didn't want territory or resources. They wanted extinction, complete and utter destruction of all sentient life. Their technology was far beyond anything our alliance had seen. World after world fell before we even understood what we were fighting. The hologram showed planets turning black as the purple spread. Earth was targeted early, not because we were a threat, but because we were trying to organize a defense. The attack on our world was meant to be final, overwhelming. Images flashed showing massive ships descending on a blue planet, weapons firing. But we had an advantage," Chen said. "Human ingenuity. In the decades before the invasion, Earth scientists had been working on experimental technologies, things considered too dangerous or unstable for practical use. When the Purifiers attacked, we had no choice but to deploy them. The image changed to show Earth surrounded by a strange energy field as enemy weapons struck it. The phase shield," Lynn explained. "It shifted our entire planet slightly out of normal space-time. The Purifiers' weapons passed through us as if we weren't there. But the rest of the galaxy thought you were destroyed," Alara said. "How?" "That was not our intention," Chen admitted. "The phase shield had an unexpected side effect. It created a massive energy discharge that appeared, to distant observers, like Earth exploding. By the time we realized what had happened, the galaxy believed we were dead." "And you let them keep believing that," Torrin said accusingly. Chen's expression hardened. "We had no choice. The Purifiers were still out there, If they knew Earth had survived, they would have returned with greater force. So you hid, Alara said, for 2,000 years. We did more than hide, Lynn corrected. We fought back. From the shadows. The hologram showed small ships emerging from Earth's solar system, striking at purple targets, then disappearing again. We developed new weapons, new defenses, Chen explained. We launched covert missions to help other worlds resist. Slowly, over centuries, we pushed the purifiers back. Until they retreated entirely, Mira added. Back to wherever they came from. Alara tried to process this new version of history. The rebuilding of civilization after the war was guided by us, Chen confirmed. Secretly. We provided technology, resources, knowledge, always through intermediaries, never revealing our existence. But why maintain the deception after the threat was gone? Alara asked. The war has been over for centuries, according to your own account. Chen and Lin exchanged looks. It was Lin who answered. Because we don't believe they're truly gone. The purifiers didn't fight like a species that could admit defeat. Their retreat was too organized, too deliberate. You think they'll come back, Alara realized. We know they will, Chen said gravely. All our projections, all our intelligence suggests they've been regrouping. Preparing for another attempt? The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Show them, Mira said suddenly. Chen looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. Yes, it's time. He stood up. Please come with me. There's something you need to see before you can truly understand. They followed Chen and Lin out of the room and through more corridors until they reached a transport tube. After a swift, smooth ride, they emerged in what appeared to be a massive control center. Hundreds of people worked at stations around a central holographic display of the entire galaxy. This is the watch, Chen said. From here, we monitor every sector of known space looking for signs of the purifier's return. Alara stared in amazement at the scale of the operation. You've been watching the entire galaxy? All this time? We had to, Lin said. Earth's survival depends on early warning. Chen led them to a specific section where the displays showed a region of space far from Earth. 3 months ago, our deep space probes detected these energy signatures. The hologram zoomed in to show strange distortions at the edge of the galaxy. The same signatures we recorded before the first invasion, Chen explained. They're coming back, Professor. And this time they'll be stronger. Why show us this? Torn asked. Why reveal yourselves now after all this time? Because we can't fight them alone, Chen said simply. Not again. Earth and its colonies are powerful. But the purifiers have had as much time to advance as we have. The coming war will engulf the galaxy just like before. But this time we want the galaxy to be prepared. You want me to tell everyone that Earth exists? Alara asked. That everything we know about history is wrong? Not everything, Lin said. Just the parts about Earth, and not everyone, not yet. Just those who will listen. Those who can help prepare defenses. There's more, Mira said quietly. All eyes turned to her again. Show them who I really am. Chen hesitated, then nodded. Mira reached into her pocket and took out a small device. She pressed it against her neck and her appearance began to change subtly. Her skin took on a slight golden tone. Her eyes changed color, becoming a deep, vibrant blue. Even her hair seemed different, darker with an unusual sheen. I am not fully human, she explained. My father was from Earth, my mother was from Nexus Station. I am part of the contact program. People with mixed heritage who can move freely in the galaxy without raising suspicion. There are more like you? Alara asked. Hundreds, Mira confirmed. Living on various worlds, watching, listening, identifying people who might be receptive to the truth. Like me, Alara said. Yes, we've been observing you for years. Your questions about the historical record. Your willingness to consider alternative explanations. You were the perfect candidate for first contact. Alara wasn't sure how to feel about that. Had her entire career been monitored by Earth agents? Had her Academ the shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere? Alara pressed her face to the viewport, watching as clouds parted to reveal the landscape below. Green forests, blue lakes, and sprawling cities came into view. It was more beautiful than any world she had ever seen. It's so alive, she whispered. Earth has had 2,000 years to heal and grow, Mira explained. While staying hidden, we focused on living in harmony with our planet. The old cities were rebuilt with nature, not against it. Alara could see what she meant. The cities below didn't dominate the landscape, but seemed to flow with it. Buildings rose among trees, Lakes and rivers ran through urban centers. It was a perfect blend of technology and nature. The shuttle landed on a platform overlooking a vast city. As they stepped out, Ilara felt the warm sunshine and breathed in air that smelled of plants and water. After days in space, it was wonderful. "Welcome to New Geneva," Chen said, "one of Earth's major cities and home to our Defense Council headquarters." They were taken to a large building with gardens on every level. Inside, they met more Earth officials who explained how their society worked, a global government that balanced individual freedom with collective responsibility. They showed how Earth had developed technology far beyond what was known in the rest of the galaxy, from energy production to medicine to space travel. All this time, Torin said, looking impressed despite his earlier suspicions. "You've been advancing while the rest of us struggled to rebuild." "We had advantages," Lin admitted. "We didn't lose our homeworld. We didn't have to start over. But we've been preparing everything for one purpose," Chen added more solemnly, "defense against the Purifier's return." They were shown massive underground facilities where ships and weapons were built. Orbital platforms that could detect the smallest anomalies across light years of space. Training centers where Earth forces practiced combat against simulated Purifier attacks. "Your entire civilization is built around war," Ilara observed. "Around survival," Chen corrected. "The Purifiers don't leave room for compromise or coexistence. It's them or us. We chose us." That evening, they were given rooms in a building overlooking the city. From her window, Ilara watched as lights came on across New Geneva. It looked peaceful, despite everything she had learned about Earth's military preparations. A soft knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Mira. "How are you feeling?" Mira asked, joining her at the window. "Overwhelmed," Ilara admitted. "Everything I've taught, everything I believed about history, it needs to be rewritten." "Not everything," Mira said. "The destruction was real. The suffering was real. Only Earth's fate was different." Ilara turned to her. "Why me, Mira?" "There must be other historians who ask questions. Why did you choose my class?" Mira smiled sadly. "Because you don't just teach history, you question it. And because time is running out. The signs are clear. The Purifiers will return soon. We need people like you to help prepare the galaxy." Before Ilara could respond, an alarm began to sound, not loud and harsh, but a soft, pulsing tone that somehow felt more urgent. Mira's expression changed instantly. "That's a level 1 alert. Something's happened." They hurried out into the corridor where they met Torin, Ven, and Lissa, all looking confused and worried. Security officers appeared and escorted them quickly through the building to an underground level where Chen was waiting. "What's going on?" Ilara asked. Chen's face was grim. "It's happened sooner than we expected. The watch has detected a massive fleet entering the outer reaches of the galaxy. Energy signatures match the Purifiers. They're back." He led them into a large command center filled with people working at control stations. A huge display showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with a cluster of red dots moving slowly inward from the edge. "How many ships?" Torin asked, his spacer's experience making him focus on the practical details. "Over 1,000 that we can detect," Lin answered from a nearby station. "Many more likely shielded or using stealth technology." "Where are they headed?" Ilara asked, though she feared she already knew the answer. Chen pointed to a specific section of the map. "Based on their current trajectory, they're aiming for the Centauri sector first." "The Academy," Ilara whispered. "My students. And after that, they'll move toward the core worlds," Lin added. "Billions of lives in their path. But they don't know Earth exists, right?" Lissa asked. "Your shield is still working." "Our cloaking technology has hidden us for centuries," Chen confirmed. "But the Purifiers aren't fools. They'll investigate the Forbidden Zone eventually. They'll want to confirm Earth's destruction for themselves." "What can you do?" Ilara asked. "Will you warn the galaxy?" Chen and Lin exchanged looks. "We've been preparing for this moment for 2,000 years, Chen said. Earth will not hide anymore, but a sudden revelation might cause panic or disbelief. We need to be strategic." He turned to a control panel and pressed a series of commands. The large display changed to show Earth and its solar system, surrounded by layers of defensive systems, satellites, stations, and fleets of ships. "Operation Daybreak is now active," Chen announced. The room fell silent for a moment, then erupted in focused activity. "All defense platforms to full alert. Colony worlds to initiate emergency protocols. Fleet command to deploy to primary defensive positions. Ilara watched in amazement as the Earth forces mobilized with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, the display showed hundreds of ships moving into formation around the solar system. "You've been rehearsing this," she realized. "Every year," Lynn confirmed. "Full-scale drills for a moment we hoped would never come." A new alarm sounded and a section of the galactic map flashed urgently. "Director," called an operator. "We're detecting spatial anomalies in the Forbane system. The Purifier Advanced Fleet has arrived ahead of schedule." Chen studied the readings. "They've improved their jump technology. They're moving faster than we predicted." "The Forbane system has 2 inhabited planets," Ilara said, recognizing the name. "Millions of people who have no idea what's coming." "We've already dispatched Scout Team 7 to the area," Lynn reported. "They'll observe and report but remain hidden." "Hidden?" Ilara couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Those people need help, not observation." "We can't reveal ourselves prematurely," Chen explained, though he looked troubled. "If the Purifiers discover Earth forces operating openly, they'll change their strategy. We need to strike at the right moment for maximum effect. So those worlds are just sacrifices?" Torin asked, his voice hard. "No world is a sacrifice," Chen insisted, "but we must think of the entire galaxy. If we move too soon and fail, everyone dies. This is the burden we've carried for 2,000 years, making impossible choices for the greater survival." The command center fell silent as another alert sounded. "Purifier ships entering the Forbane system," announced an operator. "Energy signatures indicate weapons charging." On the main display, they watched as the red dots surrounded a small star system. Ilara felt sick. Millions of people were about to die and they were just watching. "We can't just stand by," she said firmly. "There must be something you can do without revealing Earth directly." Chen studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Perhaps there is." He turned to Lynn. "Deploy Shadow Squadron to Forbane. Stealth protocol, limited engagement. Evacuate as many civilians as possible before the main Purifier fleet arrives." Lynn nodded and began issuing orders. On the display, a new set of dots, blue ones, appeared, moving quickly toward the threatened system. "Shadow Squadron is our most advanced stealth force," Chen explained. "They can operate without being detected even by the Purifiers. They won't be able to save everyone, but they can get some to safety." "Where will the refugees go?" Ilara asked. "To secure locations we've prepared throughout the galaxy," Mira answered. "Places where Earth has maintained secret outposts for centuries." Another alarm blared louder than before. "Multiple Purifier vessels have changed course," an operator called out. "They're heading directly for the Forbidden Zone. Estimated arrival 6 hours." The room grew tense. This was what they had feared. The enemy investigating Earth's supposed destruction. "They suspect," Lynn said quietly. "Or they want to make sure." Chen straightened his shoulders. "Then we've run out of time for subtlety. Initiate protocol revelation. Alert all Earth forces across the galaxy to stand ready." "Protocol revelation authorized," Lynn confirmed. She turned to Ilara and the others. "You might want to brace yourselves. What happens next will change everything. What are you going to do?" Ilara asked. Chen's expression was determined, almost fierce. "We're going to show the galaxy that Earth is very much alive. And we're going to show the Purifiers exactly what they're facing." He pressed another series of commands on his console. "Deactivate the planetary cloaking field. Power up the orbital defense grid. Launch all fleet elements." Around them, the command center burst into activity as orders were relayed and systems activated. On the main display, the image of Earth's solar system began to change as the massive cloaking field that had hidden it for 2,000 years slowly powered down. "What will the rest of the galaxy see?" Ilara asked, trying to imagine the reaction when Earth suddenly appeared in what was thought to be empty space. "A miracle, Mira." Ilara stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital defense station, watching as history unfolded before her. Below, the blue planet shone brilliantly, no longer hidden behind its massive cloaking field. Around it, thousands of ships moved in precise formations, preparing for the battle to come. "They're here," Chen announced, joining her at the viewport. Purifier scout vessels have entered the edge of the solar system. On the large display screens around them, they could see the enemy ships, sleek, dark vessels with purple energy signatures. They moved cautiously, clearly surprised to find an intact planet where their records showed there should be nothing. "They're scanning us," Lynn reported from her station. "Full spectrum analysis. They know something isn't right." "Let them look," Chen said. "Let them see exactly what they're facing." The Purifier scouts approached slowly, maintaining distance as they gathered information. Then, abruptly, they turned and accelerated away from the solar system. "They're retreating to report back," Torin observed. "As expected," Chen nodded. "Now we have perhaps 12 hours before their main fleet arrives." "What's the plan?" Ilara asked. Over the past few hours, she had watched Earth's military machines spring fully to life. It was unlike anything she had ever seen, organized, efficient, and armed with technology that made the rest of the galaxy's defenses look primitive. "We fight on our terms, not theirs," Chen explained. "The Aegis station is our primary weapon." He gestured to the massive structure they were standing on. "It can target and destroy Purifier ships at distances they consider safe. They won't be expecting that." "But that's just the beginning," Lynn added. "We've spent centuries studying their tactics, their technology, their weaknesses. We know how they think." "And we've prepared accordingly," Mira finished. Ilara looked at the 3 Earth officers, Chen, Lynn, and Mira. They spoke with such confidence despite the overwhelming force heading their way. 2,000 years of preparation had given them not just advanced weapons, but absolute certainty in their ability to win. A new alert sounded. All eyes turned to the main display. "Incoming transmission," an operator announced. "It's being broadcast across all standard galactic frequencies." "Let's hear it," Chen ordered. A harsh, mechanical voice filled the room, speaking in the common galactic language, but with an unnatural rhythm. "Attention all sentient species. We are the Purifiers. We have returned to complete our sacred task. All resistance is futile. All life is temporary. Submit to extinction," the message repeated, echoing ominously through the command center. "Charming as ever," Lynn remarked dryly. "They're broadcasting this across the entire galaxy?" Ilara asked, horrified. "Yes," Chen confirmed. "Creating fear before they strike. It's their standard tactic." "Then we should respond," Ilara suggested. "Tell the galaxy that Earth exists, that there's hope." Chen considered this, then nodded. "You're right, it's time." He turned to Lynn. "Prepare a system-wide broadcast. Use all frequencies, all languages." Lynn worked at her console for a moment, then looked up. "Ready, Director?" Chen stepped forward, his posture straight and dignified. "This is Director Chen of Earth Defense Command. To all civilizations across the galaxy. Earth lives. We did not perish in the extinction war 2,000 years ago. We have remained hidden, preparing for this day. The Purifiers have returned, but they will not find us helpless. We have the weapons, the technology, and the resolve to defeat them again. Stand firm. Prepare your defenses. You are not alone in this fight." He paused, then added with quiet determination, "Earth stands with you. Earth fights for you. Earth will not fall." The message went out, racing across the stars to worlds that had long believed Earth was nothing but dust and legend. "What now?" Ilara asked when the broadcast ended. "Now we prepare for battle," Chen said simply. "And you should prepare as well." "Me? How?" "By documenting everything you see," he told her. "By being ready to tell the truth when this is over. The galaxy will need historians more than ever." 12 hours passed in a blur of activity. Earth ships moved into final positions. Defense systems were checked and rechecked. Across the solar system, civilian populations were moved to secure shelters. Ilara and her companions were given protective gear and assigned a safe observation area on the Aegis station. From there, they would witness the battle without being in immediate danger. "It's starting," Mira said quietly, looking at her personal device. "Long-range sensors have detected the Purifier main fleet entering the outer system." They hurried to the observation deck. The displays showed hundreds of enemy vessels approaching in tight formation. The dark ships moved with eerie precision, like a single organism rather than individual vessels. "There are so many of them," Lissa whispered, her blue skin paling at the sight. Numbers aren't everything, Torin reminded her, though he too looked concerned. All Earth forces, this is Director Chen, came Chen's voice over the communication system. The enemy approaches. 2,000 years ago, they thought they destroyed us. Today they learn how wrong they were. For Earth, for humanity, for all, life in the galaxy, engage. The battle began not with a bang but with silence. Earth's first attack was invisible to the naked eye, a wave of energy from the Aegis station that traveled faster than light itself. When it reached the Purifier fleet, the results were immediate and devastating. Dozens of enemy ships simply ceased to exist, transformed into expanding clouds of debris. The Purifier fleet faltered, clearly surprised by the attack. Then they regrouped and accelerated toward Earth, weapons charging. They're adapting already, Lynn noted from her command station, shifting their shield frequencies to counter the Aegis. As expected, Chen replied calmly. Initiate Phase 2. Earth's defense fleet surged forward to meet the incoming enemies. But instead of engaging directly, the ships executed a complex maneuver, splitting into smaller groups that danced around the Purifier formation. As they moved, they deployed small devices that attached themselves to enemy vessels. Quantum disruptors, Mira explained to Alara. They don't destroy the ships outright, but they interfere with their control systems, make them fight themselves. Sure enough, the affected Purifier ships began to move erratically. Some fired on their own allies, others shut down completely, drifting helplessly in space. The Purifiers responded with brutal efficiency, sacrificing their compromised vessels by detonating them. The explosions created gaps in Earth's formations which the remaining enemy ships quickly exploited. They're breaking through the outer defense line, Lynn reported, her voice tense but controlled. Activate the lunar platforms, Chen ordered. From Earth's moon, massive cannons emerged from hidden bunkers. They fired in perfect synchronization, sending beams of concentrated energy into the approaching fleet. More enemy ships vanished in blinding flashes. The battle continued, ebbing and flowing across the solar system. The Purifier fleet was immense, but Earth's defenses were clever and multi-layered. For every tactic the enemy employed, Earth seemed to have a counter prepared. Hours passed. The observation deck's displays showed losses on both sides. Earth ships being destroyed, defense platforms going dark. But the Purifier fleet was suffering far worse damage. They're pulling back, Torin observed, pointing to a section of the tactical display. Regrouping at the edge of the system. No, Chen said grimly. They're making room. A moment later, alarms blared throughout the station. A massive distortion appeared in space where the Purifier fleet had withdrawn. From it emerged a single ship, many times larger than any they had seen before. The command vessel, Lynn whispered. Their flagship. The enormous ship moved slowly toward Earth, seemingly unconcerned by the smaller vessels fighting around it. Its hull absorbed weapons fire without visible damage. We expected this, Chen reminded everyone. Initiate Sunspear Protocol. On the tactical display, a new icon appeared. A small, fast-moving object launching from a hidden facility on Mercury, the planet closest to the Sun. It streaked toward the Purifier flagship, too small to be targeted by the massive vessel's weapons. What is that? Alara asked. Our answer to their command ship, Mira explained. A targeted fusion device, enhanced with technology we've developed specifically to penetrate their shields. The small object reached the Purifier flagship and simply disappeared into it, passing through its defenses as if they weren't there. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, from within the massive vessel, light began to shine through seams in its hull. The light grew brighter, more intense, until with a silent flash, the entire command ship split apart from the inside. The effect on the remaining Purifier fleet was immediate. Without their central command, the ships fell into disarray. Some continued fighting with reduced effectiveness. Others attempted to retreat. Still others simply drifted as if waiting for orders that would never come. Now, Chen said firmly. All ships, all weapons, full assault. Earth's forces surged forward in a coordinated attack, targeting the disorganized enemy vessels. The Aegis station fired again and again. The lunar cannons blazed continuously. Every defensive platform, every ship, every weapon in Earth's arsenal unleashed its full power. The Purifier fleet, already damaged and now leaderless, crumbled under the onslaught. Ship after ship was destroyed or disabled. Those that tried to escape found their retreat routes blocked by Earth vessels that had quietly moved.